Welcome to Pioneers in Payments, where payments experts share their insights. Now, here's our host, Donna Blum.
Welcome, everyone. Today, I have the pleasure of speaking with Genevieve Dozier from Warpaint Consulting. Welcome, Genevieve.
Thank you, Donna.
How are you today?
I'm doing wonderful. I hope you are.
I am. Thank you so much for joining us here today. To get us started, would you mind sharing with our audience a little bit about yourself, your background in the payments industry, and the work that you do at Warpaint Consulting?
Yeah, absolutely. So I reside here in the Outer Banks of North Carolina. I am married. 22 years we've been together with my high school sweetheart. We've been married for 16. I have a 12-year-old son and a 10-year-old daughter. So that's my family about myself. I've been in the payments industry a purposeful 17 years since college. I say I date my payments industry back to when I was 15, and I had a worker's permit in 1999, and I was checkout at a roadside farmer's market. And so I was selling, fruits and vegetables, but I was using a cash register. I was using a weigh scale. I was using the credit card terminal, and I continued jobs similar to that all the way through high school and college. So a lot of experience I use as those days as a merchant, I still use in my talk track today with clients and partners. And so in my payments industry experience, as I mentioned, 17 years post-college, I worked at a fully owned acquirer. So we owned everything. And at age 30, I was the youngest and only female reporting to the president of that business. We were processing 18 billion in annual volume, had about 60,000 merchant accounts. And I was responsible for product strategy for new and existing. I was responsible for pricing strategy, the sales support team supporting 80 sales reps out in the field, as well as sales training for those sales reps. And I also did help close several national deals for our organization. I did a short stint on Agenico. I then worked at Card Connect. I was head of their bank partner program. So I managed over 100 bank partnerships there for that wholesale ISO, about the same size as my prior company, and had 13 reports under my organization nationwide, including Hawaii. That company was bought by First Data, and I moved over to the ISO division. So in a 3-year period, I managed 40 different ISOs, retail, wholesale, and FSP, as well as some payment facilitator companies. And most recently, I was the Chief Business Development Officer at a fintech startup company that worked with ISOs, ISVs, and financial institutions. And so to your point, Donna, I started Warpaint Consulting in September of this year. I'm very proud of it. The name derives from a book that I'm also about to release called My Makeup is My War Paint. And so I think a lot of women in the payments industry can relate to, being in the hotel room at a conference or at a, internal meetings or client meetings, or even at your own home, getting ready to go to the office, or even on the Zoom like we're doing today. And you're putting your makeup on and you're doing your hair and you're getting your suit on and you're going to war, right? The war of doing business. And so that's where that name comes from. But really what Warpaint Consulting is about, it's about taking my 17 years of experience in all different areas of payments, primarily on the acquiring side. And being that payments guru. I joke about making payments geek, payments chic. And making it, beautiful and fun to talk about payments, and all of my payments knowledge, provide consulting to investors, to companies, to teams, on what they maybe should be strategizing within the payments industry to win. And then I also have another part of that side of Warpaint Consulting. So it's payments guru, but then it's also professional and personal development. So taking what I've learned in the payments industry and helping apply it to other people on how they can be successful and define their own personal success, balancing their career with their work life, prioritizing self-care, really figuring out who and what they want to be within the payments industry and even beyond. So I'm working with people and clients and doing coaching and training and motivational speaking, even within school systems, within healthcare fields, and other industries beyond payments.
That's wonderful. So I'm going to ask a question because I think maybe our audience might want to know, do you work only with women, or do you also do consulting services for men?
No, that's a great question, Donna. And I kind of started out early when I started speaking kind of pro bono in 2018, 2019. It was directed toward women, but I did have some men attend the sessions, and I even shared panels where men were panelists with me. And I had guys reach out to me directly in person and then also online. I had one just a few months ago reach out, and he said, "Hey, I really appreciate a LinkedIn post that you did." And it was actually a few years ago that I did this post, but he remembered it, and it inspired him to step down from a leadership position, take an individual contributor position while still maintaining the money that he needed, that he felt like he needed. But that way he could take his kids to and from school, take and be there, maybe have lunch with them during the summer because they were 4 and 6 years old, and he was really wanting to spend more time with his kids. And I think that's a great example of where I absolutely will take on male clients to kind of talk about, that. And I think it is something that more men should talk about. I had a boss of mine once, because I was sharing my struggles of traveling as a working mom and how hard it was sometimes to leave my kids. And, he said that he almost quit his job once, where he was walking out the door because he traveled frequently at that time. And his 4-year-old daughter wrapped her arms around his leg and just cried. Tears were coming down. "Don't go, Daddy." And he said he was crying on the way to the airport. He almost called his boss and quit. But what he did instead was just, talk to his boss about, just limiting his travel, maybe just not traveling so often. And so I think that's a great, example of, how it things like work-life balance affect men just as much as women in the workplace.
Yeah, it's just a good reminder that we work to live. We don't live to work, right? So, yeah, I think that's great. So that kind of is a good segue. You mentioned as we were talking before we began the interview that you're going to be speaking at Money 2020 coming up here, and it sounds like a really intriguing topic. Would you mind sharing just a little bit about that?
Yes, no, thank you, Donna, for bringing that up. I'm really excited about it. And it's funny because my goal has been for several years to be a well-known speaker in the industry. And initially it was to provide payments knowledge on industry trends, right? And things that were happening in the industry and challenges and obstacles, right? And so my goal was always to be a main agenda speaker. And for the past 3 years, I'm going to say, 19 or in 2020, 19, 21, 22, I've spoken at Money 2020 to the Rise Up cohort specifically. And this year, on Sunday, I'll be speaking to the Rise Up and Amplify cohort. And so it'll be about, as well as some of the board advisors for Money 2020 will be in the room and some of the other speakers. So about 100 people. So, it's sometimes, with main agenda speakers, I feel like you might have people in the room, you might not know how many. And this is a guaranteed, 100 people in attendance. And these programs are so specific and curated to really develop diverse future leaders within fintech. So it's a very specific purpose. The people who are attending are very hungry to learn and develop and continue to grow in their ambition in their career and with their personal life success. And so I'm co-presenting a 45-minute workshop where the second speaker of the whole program. So I'm really excited to kind of be the one to kind of set the bar. But the session is on how to prioritize self-care in your everyday life. And what I'm really excited about it with Donna is, my co-presenter and I are coming out right out of the gate, and we're going to immediately share 10, very traumatic events that have happened in our professional lives. It may be personal or maybe professional, and what kind of feelings and emotions we went through, but then that when we thought we felt our weakest, really we became our strongest. and kind of what the good things that came out of those experiences were. So then how to apply different learnings, to your everyday life to be at peace with your mind, body, and soul at home and at work.
Yeah, I think it's so important, that topic of life balance. So I think it's great that you're sharing that with these payments leaders at Money 2020. I'll be interested to hear how that goes. So typically when I do these interviews, we talk about most notable trend, largest opportunity, biggest challenge. We're asking for like a silver bullet piece of advice. And let's kind of tweak that a little bit, just based on the space that you're in now, really consulting and helping to coach both individuals and organizations. What would you say is a trend that you are recognizing in the payments industry today, at payments organizations, and let's say perhaps a challenge that they're experiencing right now? We talked a little bit about the fact that a lot of organizations are having a difficult time recruiting the necessary talent. Do you want to speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And speak to the trend and challenge a little bit. I think, companies, and specifically in the acquiring part of payments, right? That's where I'll focus, because that's been majority of my career. The space is extremely commoditized. And I'm going to say in every sense of the space. So your people that work for you, the customers you're trying to gain, the products you're trying to sell, it's all commoditized. And so the challenge for organizations is figuring out what truly sets you apart from the competition, or just figuring out where your niche is within the marketplace, right? And then coming up with a true value proposition for that. And then, to your point, Donna, having the people. I've been talking to a lot of companies over the last month and a half, especially, and a lot of them are saying, we have the product, we have the technology, we have the innovation, we have the niche, we know our brand, we know our market, but we need people. We need people with a good network, with that, want to work with us, and we need them to help evangelize, right, that message. We need people who are going to provide trust and transparency and honesty, and bring that to client relationships, to partner relationships, to within the organization. And to do that, you need people who are gonna have, who want to feel like they have a mutual trust, respect, and support from their organization. They want empathy. I think I saw a survey actually earlier on LinkedIn today. I screenshotted it, but I remember the number. It was 16% of respondents felt like they had empathy from their company at work. That's really small. That's a really small number. And what I've experienced in some organizations, and sometimes it's even just within that team within the organization, right? Because sometimes that message doesn't trickle down, or it doesn't move cross-functionally, horizontally across the organization, where they may say things, but their actions don't follow suit, right? Or they may say things like, sure, you could take the day off, and go do, what you asked to do. But then later in a conversation, you may be criticized for that, right? So I think, being a true ally to the people that you hire, doing what you say you're gonna do, and again, supporting them. And it goes beyond that, right? It goes into the product that they have to believe in the product that they're selling, you're selling. They have to have the resources to get their job done, right? So if my job is to sell and I don't have any marketing resources, or I don't have resources in place to be successful in my job, people are thinking about this, right? I think we've seen a turn, especially accelerated with the pandemic, where people are truly interviewing an organization more so than the organization is interviewing them. the market is saturated right now. And there are a lot of companies that are allowing flexible employment, being remote versus in the office. So these are things that I think organizations, it is a challenge for them, and they really need to figure out kind of who they are and who they want to be, what talent that they want to have on their team, and then how to bring that that value proposition to the people that they want to bring on board.
Right. And we spoke a little bit about the fact that because everything, the industry is so commoditized, the differentiator really is the people, right? When you think about customer service, for example, that is the customer's experience with your organization. It could make or break whether they continue to do business with your organization or not. So yeah, it is so important to invest in your people, and it's much easier to maintain the talent and the employees that you have, as opposed to having to go out and find new. So
Right.
Excellent advice. So Genevieve, I think kind of just to wrap this up a little bit, you're obviously writing a book and there's all kinds of information in there. I wish we could kind of just get a quick summary of that. But what would you say to our audience, payments professionals? What's like the silver bullet piece of advice that you have for them, either regarding their professional careers, or perhaps a silver bullet piece of advice to payments organizations?
It's a great question. It's very broad, so I'm going to try to bring it in. And I would say, to be yourself. And I feel like that's a very simple concept, but a lot of times, and me growing up I'm going to say growing up in payments in a Southern conservative bank, I was told to, and this is part of my book, right? So I was told to wear the navy blue blazer skirt suit with pantyhose and short-heeled closed-toed pumps with straight hair whenever I went to our headquarters. And I did so, and I was successful in that role. And so I think that is I know, I'm going to take that back. I know that is my advice, is to, again, kind of bring your whole self. And I think that's the professional advice, right? So if you don't feel like you belong in your organization or what you're doing, change that environment, because you should be with people who want to work with you based on who you are authentically, and that you feel comfortable being your true self, right? And not having to hide potentially, who you are, and being somewhat of a puppet, right? We can all play a role, right? It's playing a role within the payments organization. I think everyone can resonate with this, right? Maybe you go to the cigar bar with your client, even though you don't smoke and you don't want to, but all the clients are going there during a client event, so you go to the cigar bar. Or maybe you go to the cocktail hour and you fake drink a seltzer because you're a recovering alcoholic, but you have to be at that event because it's part of your role that you're playing. It's part of the job that you're tasked to do, and then again, that pays your bills. But I think if we could all get to a place where we find that organization, that position, and strength and comfort and confidence in being our true selves, that then will translate into that organization getting better performance out of employees, and getting better revenue, and getting better partners who want to work with people who are their authentic self, that feel freedom, right? And that feel fearless to then go beyond that perseverance and reach their full potential. And I would encourage organizations, kind of on the flip side of that, to be mindful of all of these different situations and things within their work that could make people feel uncomfortable. And so I think that's really important, and something that I've, over time, throughout my book, I have 4 different stages of my career that I call the unveiling, right? Where I took off the navy blue suit. I I didn't have the straight hair. I didn't have the pantyhose. I didn't have the short closed toe navy pumps. And I revealed parts of myself finally, and I felt so much better. I felt so much stronger. And in my performance, you know, just my performance was still just as good. I don't want to say that because my performance was good when I was playing the role, but I think it was more so how I felt about it. That just made me feel more confident in myself and in being able to be myself.
So the advice really for payments organizations is to work to create a culture where employees do feel like they can be their authentic self. And when they are their authentic self, they are perhaps more productive, certainly enjoy the job more, and are more likely to stick around. So
I think that's the point, Donna. As you were recapping, I think you create a strong sense of loyalty, especially when they feel like they have the support of their direct leadership as well as the organization's overall leadership.
Genevieve, thank you so much for that. So I just have one final question for you. If somebody wants to learn more about you, the services you provide, about Warpaint Consulting, where would they go for more information?
Yeah, no, thanks so much, Donna. I'm really excited. I launched my website about a month ago. And so you can go to just www.warpaintconsulting.com. We do have a LinkedIn. I haven't done a lot there, so I would also ask you to follow me on LinkedIn, Genevieve Dozier. I do a lot of posting on there and have a pretty big following on LinkedIn. Or you can email me directly at GDOZ, as in zebra, IER at warpaintconsulting.com.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Genevieve. It's been such a pleasure talking with you. And I also just want to thank everybody for watching today. Have a great day. Bye-bye.